Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko and I'm here with Terri Morrow. Say hi, Terri.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Terri and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change.
Yay.
This week we'll be revisiting one of our favorite pop culture topics, which is Hamilton.
Hamilton!
We'll be talking about the Hamiltome, and we're going to continue our Parks and Rec marathon and talk about the West Wing episode Celestial Navigation and the West Wing Weekly podcast episode about that. But first, I wanted to mention that my family and I finally found Dory this weekend.
How was it? Did you all love it?
It was very cute, yes. As I think the Pop Culture Happy Hour podcast mentioned about how there's baby Dory in it, and it's like the bigger the eyes, the cuter the baby animal, and this thing is like all eyeballs. But she has this like adorable little voice, and she's like, "Shells, I like shells." It's very, very cute. So I would say it's a little more like almost slapstick than Finding Nemo was. Yeah. But it still is very sweet and heartfelt with, what is a family and who makes up a family and how do we find each other and express our feelings for each other. The breakout star is the octopus named Hank, who is voiced by Ed O'Neill and is very funny. It's this octopus that can like camouflage itself to anything and everything. So that's how he just like hops out of his tank and like has free range of this entire like aquarium. Wow. Park Marine Life Institute area because he just turns himself into whatever background he needs. It's very funny. So
wow, sounds like fun to watch and fun for them to animate.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I found myself laughing quite frequently.
You'll be seeing quite a lot of Hank around Christmas time in the toy aisles, do you think? It's going to be merchandised on everything.
Yeah, we'll see. It would be interesting to see what they do with him. Yes. I mean, you can make a plush octopus, but then it's only one color.
Yes, that's true. Not so fun.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it was maybe more of, just from what you're describing, it sounds like it's maybe more of a kiddie thing than the original one, which had that undercurrent of parenting angst to it. Did this one have that as well?
Yeah, it didn't as much, I would say. Like, it was a little sillier. I mean, it was still very enjoyable for adults. I mean, my husband and I were laughing plenty. And it was rated PG, not G. I don't really know what they did, to deserve that. But there were just the ways that they found for Dory to roam around this park with this octopus while still being, a fish that has to be in water. Like, there's a whole section where they jump into a baby stroller and Hank is like in the cargo area under the stroller and Dory's inside of a sippy cup. And he's steering by, putting two of his tentacles on the wheels of the stroller, and he's propelling it, and she's supposed to be steering by being in the cup, sitting up on the cup holder, like, go left, go right. So it was quite clever and fun.
Makes you want to be in the meeting there where they were just, okay, everybody pitch every way they could get across the park.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And they did have to come up with several ways, and ways for Nemo and Marlin to get there. And I mean, it still had the Disney, parents in peril thing where Dory was looking for her parents and how was she going to get there and all that stuff. But Marlin and Nemo remained together.
Excellent. Yes. That's a relief. I never actually saw the original one either. I'm not up on my Disney movies, but I've read enough about it to know.
It's so cute. The original one is cute, and that's the one
that makes me upset to think about it.
Yeah. Well, just know that it has a happy ending.
I take these things very seriously. Are your kids at all interested in Ghostbusters? Is that on their radar at all?
No, it doesn't seem to be at all. I would like to see it, and we've talked about that in the previous episode, but yeah, they don't seem to care at all. You know, they're too young to have known it from before, and I don't know, they're not old enough now to know, like, who is Melissa McCarthy or Kristen Wiig or any of those people, so they're like...
Yeah. I was just listening to the Pop Culture Happy Hour episode where they talked about it, and where Linda Holmes was talking about little girls now taking these on as role models and how happy that made her, and that it was good that they kept it, even though they lost the fun of creative cursing, that keeping it at a PG-13 meant that kids can go and, dig it. So... I don't think I was ever that much into the first Ghostbusters. I have the topic of it, but it doesn't really appeal to me. But I'm curious now about Kate McKinnon's performance, which they talked about there as just being gloriously over the top weird. Which is always fun, especially in a big blockbuster thing. So we'll see. I don't think I'll ever actually see it, but I will continue to read about it and listen to it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
And wish it well. Well, hopefully on a future episode we will get to that. But I have seen no movies and very little TV. But I have been reading the Hamiltome, which is actually called Hamilton the Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy McCarter. Most of the text is by Jeremy McCarter, interviewing various people involved. But the book consists mostly of all the lyrics of the show, which is pretty much the entire show. Right. And with some annotations by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Not that many. Could have had more, but the way the book is designed, sometimes they could probably get more. And if you've gone to the Genius website, you've seen zillions of annotations on this lyrics, which makes this, there were still things that I hadn't seen before. But it's basically all of that, plus then the things are, it goes through the show beginning to end, but every few numbers they have another chapter, which is about some form of how the production got put together, or a particular person involved, or commentary from a particular person that sort of in some way touches on what the next group of songs is going to be about. Very interestingly done. I mean, I think it was very creatively put together. It's a beautiful looking book. I have it in my hands right here. My kids thought it was a dictionary or perhaps an old encyclopedia. It has, the end of it looks like the old Encyclopedia Britannicas we had in my house. It's kind of like the sort of the fake rubbery leather bound sort of thing, and the rag edges on the paper. And the typeface is very sort of, I wouldn't say old timey exactly, but it's definitely supposed to look like a document. Right. For my ancient eyes, typeface a little bit small, especially on the annotations, but perhaps it's written for spirited young people, and therefore they really don't care so much. It's really pretty. I would just say the one thing that makes me nervous about it is it seems to me, and I noticed this on other ones when I was looking at it in bookstores, the binding is kind of loose. I don't know if people have lots of experience with hardback books. Some of them are very tight, and some of them you just kind of feel like every time you open it, you crack something, and if you do it enough, pages are going to start falling out. Yeah. This has a feel of that kind of book, which is why nobody in my family but me gets to touch it. But if pages are going to fall out, it's because I opened it. Right. But, when it first went on, I think the cover price on it is $45. When I first one on sale, I think I saw it for $60. I got it for about $20. It's way on sale now. And at $20, you don't have to worry so much about the pages falling out. And you can let people touch it, and you can leave it on the coffee table and supervise looking at it. If it were more expensive, I would be like covering it in plastic and keeping it someplace out of reach. But I really, really enjoyed reading it. It took me a while to read through it, not because it's huge, although it's a hefty book. But I just wanted to savor it because it's probably as close as I'm ever going to get to the show. It has really gorgeous close-up photos of people on the stage. So you really get a sense of what this thing looks like. If you, like me, have mostly experienced it through the cast album, to actually see what these numbers look like and what the people look like when they're singing is very cool. And the pictures are just gorgeous. And they're sort of worked with the lyrics sort of working around them. So it's all put together as a package. It's very nice. And then there are other pictures in the chapter parts that kind of illustrate that story. So if you've fallen down any of the zillion rabbit holes online about Hamilton and read a lot about the people involved and about the project, you will recognize maybe some of the stories. You will definitely recognize the people and enjoy reading more about them. It was a very enjoyable experience. It is definitely a fan book. Okay. It is not a book to give somebody, I think, to get them excited about it. It is a book to give somebody who is already excited. The text, there's no getting around the fact that this is a book about how brilliant it is, how brilliant everybody involved is, what wonderful decisions they made all the way around, how great their wives and children and parents are. And that's fine. That's what I want to read. I don't want to sit down and read a critical thing of it, but I already love it. Somebody who didn't already love it would go, well, they're all very happy with themselves, aren't they? So, fortunately, there's a huge market of people who are just crazy over their head about this show. So, I have not followed any publishing statistics to know how it did, but
well, it's good to know that it's on sale right now.
I saw a table of them at Barnes & Noble the other day that had like 30% off sticker. So maybe that's a bad sign that it didn't sell that much. I don't know how these things work.
But it might be a good prompt for me, for example, to go buy it for my
especially
son.
If you have, if you have a gift card from Barnes & Noble, or if you have a membership and you get an extra 10% off. If you have these things that whittle the percentage down, I think I got it on a day that was like a special sale day. Everything was an additional 20% off, and I just swooped in and got it.
Right.
So, keep your eye out for that sort of thing. And it's certainly, you will get your money's worth. It is just physically a gorgeous book.
Yeah.
Something you will be proud to own.
Well, given that, for about at least a year, my son read the picture program from The Lion King.
Yeah, he would adore this.
All it had in it was pictures.
Yeah. Oh, it is so cool because, you're just like looking through and there's pictures of them on stage and then it's all the lyrics. And what I found was really interesting, it's all the lyrics by column with who's singing, because there's some things where the main character is singing something and the ensemble is singing something else, and how that interweaves, and they're like reinforcing certain parts of it by singing along with it. And then there's, the parts where everybody's singing something different, and that's all laid out.
It's like spelled out so you know what's going on.
Yeah, and there's cool. There's some nice little anecdotes by him about why he happened to use a certain word or a combination of words. There's, what it was, and then they had to change it to something else, and why they changed it to something else. I can definitely see myself going back and looking through this again and again. And I think actually, next thing I want to do is go through it while I'm listening to the music. I did that for a couple ones when they were writing about Quiet Uptown and how that, every time they tried to practice it, everybody was in tears, and, different ways they got into it, and the keys and all that. And I said, I want to listen to this while I'm reading about
while you're reading it.
And it is just so sad and gorgeous. So you can go back into it and do that sort of thing.
Right.
And, definitely, if you are a fan of Hamilton, absolutely worth going and getting yourself a copy, especially if you can get it on discount. Though if you're a fan of Hamilton, really $45 is probably not out of the question either. Right. Since it's a lot cheaper than what the ticket you can't get would be.
Right.
You will definitely enjoy it.
Good.
So you might want to have a magnifying glass to read the annotations.
If you're an officer.
They're tiny in serif type and red and little, and the ink doesn't always. It's like the paper. I'm trying to think what you call this paper. It's not glossy paper. I guess matte is what you call it, but it's it's so the ink absorbs a little bit. So when you have that little tiny type in that fancy fusty little typeface in a particular ink, it gets a little difficult to read. Right. So for ancient eyes, you young people will have no problem.
Right.
So big thumbs up on the Hamiltome. Something to buy and savor and read again and again.
Right.
And use to console yourself that you will never actually see it in person.
I am still determined to see it in Chicago.
Oh, well, it should be good in Chicago. The Chicago cast is shaping up.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I get the tickets, who knows if any of those people will still be there. But I'm still I'm gonna work on it.
Oh, you gotta try.
Yes.
I still, from time to time, am putting in for the lottery. I keep thinking, now it will be, every time a cast member leaves, I think, well, now it will be
easier.
But it's not. Or, you do the thing like, it's pouring rain outside. It would be really inconvenient for me to go today, so I'm going to put in for it, and because it's bad luck, I'll get it. Nothing works.
No. Well, but you have to keep trying. So.
Yeah, you do. I'm taking a week or two off, and then I'm going to start trying again. But,
well, speaking of trying again, the next episode... The next episode of Parks and Rec that we watched, continuing our marathon, the first one in the group was called Second Chunce, about Leslie thinking about running for city council yet again after she was recalled.
Poor Leslie. And it's called Second Chunce because she's making a banner out of old banners cut up, and she couldn't find, I guess, another A.
Right.
But, yes, it does address the question we've often asked of, how Dexart survives scandal after scandal after scandal, but she gets recalled. Right. But, a lot of politics in that episode, which I'm kind of meh on, but the whole thing was worth it for that present that Ben gives her at the end. What a wonderful, that was just perfect. The present he gives her is an hour with Jen Barkley.
Right.
Just says,
the political
why do you
consultant.
want to go back to that place? Go do something better.
Right.
Which is exactly what she needed to hear. I like that a lot. I had completely forgotten that's how that episode ended.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that a lot.
So that was Second Chunce. We also watched New Beginnings, Farmer's Market, and Anne and Chris.
Yes.
In which Anne and Chris finally leave Pawnee.
I also wanted to mention on Second Chunce, as much as I love Ben getting Leslie an hour with Jen Barkley, the trip to Paris...
That was pretty nice, too.
That's kind of random. It's like, was somebody in Paris and they could go film there or something? Or did, Amy Poehler wanted to go to Paris? It just seemed really, how much were they paying Ben at the accountant firm for that 1 week?
For his 1 week he actually
Holy
worked.
Cow, that you could just afford to just jet off to Paris?
Mm-hmm.
I would think that an hour with Jen would pretty much break him.
Right.
But that was kind of weird. And then...
But it was sweet.
Yes, it was very sweet. In New Beginnings, now that episode is one of those things we were talking about, like Pawnee is like Chinatown, that you just can't ask too many questions.
Mm-hmm.
You just is. The politics of Pawnee in that we lost half a season of Ben and Leslie because they couldn't work together because he would be her boss and they couldn't work together in that relationship. Now, they're married. We're married now, so it's okay. However, was she not a city council person at the time he was appointed city manager? And at that same time, Chris tricked Jam because Jam didn't know that Chris was stepping down and that Ben was going to be taking over. How are there not nepotism hearings out the wazoo in this town? How is Jam not tying up the local government forever?
Mm-hmm.
Did she get him his job? Did he get her job? Should they, it's even in my town, that would be dicey. People would be talking about that.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, can we attribute it to the fact that Jam has kind of come over to their side almost now?
I mean, but I would expect that once he finds out that Chris tricked him, wouldn't he be out? Blood, I would think. Maybe I was thinking, I don't think we ever get a scene of the city council now that Ingrid DeForest is on it.
Uh-huh.
I would like to see that because I bet she just puts him in his place and maybe he just stays there.
Right.
But you just have to let it wash over you. I'm happy there wasn't a storyline about there being a problem.
Oh, goodness.
Very, very happy. It's just so wildly inconsistent. Come on. I mean, they could have just allude to, well, yes, he protested, but everybody's sick of him by now. Or, it's just very weird.
Right.
So
what else? In New Beginnings, right, this is the one where now Ben is the city manager.
Yes.
And then the next one is Farmer's Market, where they're kind of negotiating their relationship as both co-workers and a married couple, leading to some humorous situation.
And winding up in the fountain.
Right.
Yeah, that was necessary, I guess, to get through that. But Charred Bodies was pretty funny. I can see why it would be a problem, but that was a funny bit of brainstorming in the writer's room, I gotta think.
Yeah, all the vegetable puns and the sexy charred sellers. Yes. And then the way that they finally solve the problem by creating the farmer's market after dark.
That was very good. And Leslie with all her vegetable puns.
Yes.
Yeah, it was funny. And now it's also the one where Anne is complaining about her pregnancy, which, at the end where I think it was Tom finally gives Chris the wise advice that when a woman is complaining about something, she doesn't want you to fix it. She just wants you to say that sucks.
Right.
I used that line on my daughter last night because I realized I was doing exactly that. And all she wanted me to do was sit there and go, yeah, that sucks.
And did it work?
Actually, I think it did. I will not announce that I'm doing it the next time. I will just do it. But I think that was definitely what was called for. Is Farmer's Market also the episode where Johnny Karate was born? That Andy plays the party.
I think that is the one. Yes, where Andy plays a kids' party, and he started out by thinking he's going to play all these songs that are completely inappropriate, right? And April has to tell him these are not okay. You need to, but being her usual supportive self, she says, you make up songs all the time. You're really good at this, which is true. And then he comes up with all these hilarious, just use the word, nose picking, and kids will love it.
Since he's basically a 5-year-old in a grown-up body, it's just perfect. He just cones in on, picking your nose and smelly feet and all those kid things, and they love him.
Right.
So Johnny Karate continues from here. He's a recurring character.
Well, now that they've figured out that he can make some serious money doing this.
Yes, April's management skills will be called on.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, as you were saying, we finally say goodbye to Anne and Chris. It feels like we've been saying goodbye to Anne and Chris forever. I bear Rob Lowe and Rashida Jones no ill will. If they wanted to stay on the show, that would have been A-okay. But there have been diminishing returns on those characters.
Yeah, I mean, once they were on their way out, it was like, okay, then they need to just go. Why are they still here? Doesn't he have a job in Michigan? And she is one of those TV pregnancies that progresses all out of whack, where it's 1 week she's not showing at all, the next week she's 7 months, and then but yet she's still complaining about how she throws up all the time. It's rather inconsistent.
Yes. And we had one of those things where they're able to contact all these people and affect this major change in a couple of hours at night, which seems unlikely to be able to get the gate open. But what the heck? Let them have their groundbreaking. And I did like it when Anne put the snooty Punchburger lady in a headlock.
No, the beverage lobbyist or whatever. Not the Sweetums person that runs the foundation, but the other lady.
Was she the Sweetums person, or was she? I thought she was the Punchburger.
I think she was pro soda.
Okay. Yes. She was the one who had the child-sized soda that was the size of a small child.
Right, exactly.
It's so difficult to differentiate between all the smarmy ladies here.
Right.
Anyway, but even though the whole episode was, oh, have they gone yet? This is just sort of, it was all right. It was perfectly pleasant. I didn't mind it at all. I enjoyed watching it. But just something about the little scene at the end where they get in their car and drive off while the music starts playing, and then the remaining friends decide to go to breakfast and talk about, Ron says that breakfast food makes everything better, and then they run. You see them from a long shot getting into their cars with the town of Pawnee in the background. That just gave me the feels. I liked that. That made me think, what a sweet way to end that. And not miss Anne and Chris.
Right.
Thank goodness they're gone. Let's go get some eggs.
Let's all go get some waffles and eggs. Exactly. Well, next time we are going to watch 4 more, and we are inching very close to the end of our marathon. The next 4 are Anniversaries, The Wall, New Slogan, and Galentine's Day.
Okay, and then I think there are possibly 4 more in this season.
Yeah.
And then the final season, which is a short season.
Right.
And has something special about it, which I won't spoil yet. But you soon will know.
Okay, so that's where we are in Parks and Rec, and we're also following along on another show-by-show rewatch, which is The West Wing on the West Wing Weekly podcast. The most recent one was the episode Celestial Navigation, which, as you pointed out last time, is the one where CJ gets a whoop canal, and everyone enjoys making her talk with a giant wad of gauze in her mouth.
Yes, and also the one in which, well, everybody has a pretty bad day, but especially Josh just steps right up and does exactly what you know Josh is going to do, and talks back to the press corps and gets trapped into saying that the president has a secret plan to fight inflation.
Right.
And I have to admit, I had to fast forward through some parts of this episode. I generally like it, but the part where Josh just falls into the trap that you know he's going to fall into smarmily. I can miss that.
Right.
But certainly the part of everything with Sam and Toby and their road trip and the judge and all the other disasters that happen.
Yes.
And poor CJ.
Right.
Who should definitely have taken that as an excuse not to go to the dentist.
Right. In her office watching the tape, watching the feed of Josh just completely screwing up her job. Like, oh my God. No. And was this the one where, yes, it was, where Josh, when he's doing his little, talk to a group of students, and first of all, I was terrified the whole time that he was going to spill the whole thing about the judge.
Or that he was going to still have his mic on when he went and took a phone call.
Yes. So that was very, that brought up the tension quite significantly. Yeah. But the part where he talked about how the person who has a really hard job is Charlie, the president's assistant, because he has to wake him up in the morning.
Yes.
I thought that was great.
Yes. And so such a nice little scene that illustrated it with Charlie just being so unflappable.
Right. I mean, Charlie
doing his job, hasn't had any sleep, but he knows what he needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Getting him up, getting him in his robe, he's like the mother hen of
What is it he says on the phone? Something like, "It's not a nightmare, you really are the president."
Right. And you have to get up.
Yes, that was wonderful.
Right.
Yes. It was an entertaining episode.
And the podcast episode was also entertaining because they had Jay Carney, who is a former press secretary, come on.
That was really good. Mm-hmm. I liked hearing about that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
What would be done and how they would do it and what you had to watch out for and all that. I like it when they get somebody who actually knows the job to come on and talk about it.
Yes.
That was very good. And it was interesting. I agree. I think Josh Molina was saying that the timing of it was a little weird because the stories he's telling were not from that long ago. They were happening in the course before. Of the episode. Yeah. So it's like something happens and then he's talking about it and then something else that's happening in the episode is still going on at that time. Yeah. I kept getting mixed up. Whenever they were talking about Mendoza, I thought they were talking about him being in jail. Then I realized, no, this was the thing before that. Mm-hmm. It was confusing, I think, the sequencing and the timing of it. I sometimes was not sure where we were in the slightly farther back story.
Mm-hmm. Right, but for me, as I was saying, that just gave it extra tension.
Yes, well, that's true.
Because
I can see that.
I was just really afraid that Josh was going to screw it up.
I mean, the fact that at the end he promises to tell about it, you can never tell that story.
No, exactly.
What the hell is he talking about? You can never tell that story.
No.
There will never be a time it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when Mendoza retires from the bench, possibly. But even then...
Right, well, when everyone involved is dead or something, like, it's just...
Leave it in a time capsule. Tell Donna and let her know when everybody's dead. But, yeah, because, I mean, as they were talking about, it's presented as they just handled it, but not very legally they didn't handle it. And, yes, it's one of those things sometimes you have to let art wash over you.
Mm-hmm.
This show particularly, you don't really want to pick it apart and say, is that really how it would have happened? I didn't have as many problems with it as Josh Molina did, but the timing of it was weird. I had problems with that, but I did enjoy Toby's agony throughout.
Exactly.
And CCH Pounder's extremely brief scene, but she gets a lot done in that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
She moves from anger to... she goes like through stages of grieving.
Yeah, she really does.
At acceptance. You just see that moment when she goes, "Oh, crud! I really do have to
go apologize to this
person I hate."
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That was a good one.
So that
amusing
was
mid-season episode.
Yeah, Celestial Navigation, and then next week is going to be 20 Hours in LA. So next week on this podcast, we will talk about that.
Where I believe we will once again see Joey Lucas from Raleigh Mountain.
Ooh, cool. Okay. Good. So that's
and
going
also
to be
Jay Leno, because he was a thing.
Oh, really?
At the time.
Interesting. Well, so was that it for you? Did you have anything else?
I believe that's it for me, sure. I don't think that I have anything else, so let us look forward to next week.
Yeah, that'll be it for round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Terri.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.